And what is up, everyone? I am Joe DeHoyos. I am host of Beyond the Woodline. Before we get started, something I always like to talk about is what I do in my Bigfoot world. For you guys who don't know, I am the executive director of the JRG, which is the Jevning Research Group. It's headed and founded by William Jevning. We have teams in Washington, Oregon, West Virginia, Maryland, Ohio, Tennessee, New York State, Minnesota, Michigan, Florida, and of course here in Texas. If any of you guys are interested in joining that team, also Oklahoma. If you guys are interested in joining, just hit me up, man, and we'll get you guys started. You don't have to go out into the field if you don't want to. You can do your research from behind your laptop, your cell phone, computer, whatever. You can find spots for us, find witnesses for us. Um, you have any techniques or suggestions on what we could do while we're out there for the people that do go out into the field, man, hit us up. Let us know. We'd be happy to have you. If there's no one in your state, we network with a bunch of other teams and a bunch of other people, so we know people all over the country, all over the world, really. Um, so yeah, if you want to get started in doing this Bigfoot research, man, let me know. You can just shoot me an email, beyond.woodline@gmail.com, and we'll get you guys started. And with all that being said, tonight I have with me Jamie, Keith, and Mandy. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
And we're doing great, man. I appreciate you guys joining. I know Mandy and Keith came on at the last couple of days there, so I'm glad you're able to join and you're able to make the show. And
Happy to be here.
yeah, man, thanks. Um, so just right off the bat, real quick, and if you want to start, Jamie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you started in this crazy little field?
Sure. So, growing up, I always got tons of stories from my mom about the Warrens. She followed them really closely. She used to go to lectures, all that kind of stuff. So, I grew up with that being a pretty consistent part of my life. Um, I had some interesting experiences as a kid, and then once got old enough to kind of go do things on my own, I started unofficially exploring and investigating. So going to abandoned houses and trying to figure things out about them. It was about 7 years ago that I met Mandy, and we realized that we both had a really, deep love for paranormal stuff. And 3 years ago, well, almost four now, we made it official and formed Granite Ghost Girls. We've investigated all over the US and have hit some amazing places. And as of this year, we've added Black Moon Events, which is a paranormal event company. So we're running investigation events, sleepovers, ParaCons, all of it.
Nice, nice. What about you, Mandy? What got you started?
Sort of the similar as Jamie. My mother was obsessed with anything that could terrify her. And it always, I was always a little afraid. I always thought I heard things here or there, and then there was a few times where things just didn't add up. I'm not crazy, and I didn't just scare myself. So that continued through. Unofficially did a bunch of little adventures, and after meeting Jamie, it was kind of like, I can do this, officially do this, and kind of put myself out there a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great story. What about you, Keith? What got you started into this craziness?
So, when I was a kid, my dad lives down in Beaufort, South Carolina. And I went to visit him one summer. I'd go visit him for 2 weeks every summer. And I was probably about 10 years old. And we used to go metal detecting down by this old Spanish fort down there in Beaufort. And there's this pretty cool thing. It's called the Land's End Light. It's a legend, and they've tried to debunk it on a couple TV shows. But one night afternoon that turned into evening, we were metal detecting out down there and actually saw it. It was really cool. It's like this greenish yellow pale ball of, I don't know. They thought it was floating gas, but I tell you what, floating gas doesn't go straight through trees. So I saw that as a kid, and it was the first time I ever saw my dad actually like pretty scared. We saw it for 15 seconds. It's time to go. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, we're getting out of here. um, and so I've had a pretty open mind towards the paranormal ever since then. And I met Jamie about 2.5 years ago and really started to go out to events and do investigations earlier this year, and I've been just getting into it and having more fun.
Nice, nice. So, what do you think those lights are?
Oh, the lens and light.
Yeah, what do you think
Uh,
they are?
they don't really know what it is, but
Right.
the legend is that it's a beheaded soldier carrying a lantern around looking for his head,
Okay.
and it kind of makes sense because the place it shows up most often is by the old hanging tree where they used to hang people.
Okay. Hmm.
So they say if you sit under the hanging tree, you're more likely to see it. We were just metal detecting when we saw it, but it was spooky,
Right,
spooky
right.
stuff.
Yeah, we have a couple of places here in Texas. One is in Marfa, Texas, and the other one is in Saratoga, Texas, which Saratoga is not that far. But you know about Marfa, I guess,
I
Jamie?
got to see them when I lived down in El Paso.
No,
We used to go on kind of random drives, and I'd heard about it, so I made my ex-husband drive me out to see it.
right. So I've never seen it. I've been out there, and I've never have stayed out there long enough to see anything. Because usually when I'm going that way, I'm just passing by it. That's you don't really stop in Marfa for anything, right?
Yeah,
But
no, there's nothing there.
yeah, but from what I've heard, those lights really are moving across the desert.
Yeah, there's nothing there. There's no reason for them to be where they are.
Right.
There are highways and things in the area, but without some crazy kind of weird reflection, which I don't know what it would be reflecting off of. There's nothing there to reflect off of. There's no reason for them to exist.
Hmm.
There's no cars that are in the area where those lights show up.
Right. Yeah.
Um, the closest highway to those lights is miles.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. They've had scientists all over the world come out there and try to investigate it, but they can't catch the lights. So I think it's pretty funny. Then again, like they have the one in Saratoga, which is like an hour east of Houston, if maybe at the most, and people see those lights all the time too. And yeah, so I've never had a chance to see them. I've heard a lot of people see these lights. I wish I could see them, but maybe one day it'll catch me off guard.
Throw a tent in your car and just go park in the desert for the night.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah. I'm sure the people out there will appreciate that. Probably get arrested for trespassing or something.
Might have an angry rancher or two, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, cool, man. So like when you guys started investigating, like what was like one of the first investigations you guys went on as a team?
So the first one me and Mandy did was probably not the wisest choice for brand new official investigators, but it was the Hinsdale house in New York.
Oh, nice.
We happened to be in Buffalo for something else, which was a very spur of the moment trip. And while we were there, we realized, oh, the Hinsdale house is like 45 minutes from here. We should just go drive and see the house. Like, don't go in or anything because I'm sure there's people there, but at least be able to see the house from the road. We got really lucky, and the investigative team that was there actually invited us in and let us see the house. And we pretty much immediately decided that was going to be our first investigation. I think we ended up going and investigating it 3 months later. Wasn't very long.
About that,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
How did that go?
We have very different opinions about the Hinsdale, Mandy and I. We've been there 6 times now, and 5 out of those 6, almost nothing happened. Extremely quiet, extremely relaxed, no real weird feelings, no, a couple unexplained bumps and sounds here and there, but nothing big, nothing crazy. Oh, hi, Thomas. Number 6 was a different story. I think it's very much a hit or miss place. It's either going to be absolutely crazy or it's going to be completely quiet.
Right. Yeah. I actually got invited to the Hinsdale house for the 26th of this month. it was months in advance. They gave me notice, but my daughter is actually due on the 26th, and she lives in California. So I'm not gonna go, and it's one or the other. Watch a grandbaby being born, or go to the Hinsdale house.
I
Trust
mean,
me, it's a tough one. Trust me.
I think you gotta go with the grandbaby at that point.
Yeah, I got it, I guess. At least with her.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, next time we plan to go out there. You can always come up and join us.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You guys let me know when you guys are going. I'd love to go out
And the
there.
guy.
And one guy.
That's me. Hi, Tom.
What about you, Keith? What was your first outing with these two ladies?
We went to the oh goodness, I should know this. It's a castle in Vermont. I've been there twice,
Well,
and
Well,
Wilson Castle. Oh my goodness, yeah, you put me on the spot there, and somehow I totally forgot. Wilson Castle was really cool. It was my first event, and we had some really awesome activity. That was actually an event that Granite Ghost Girls led, and I just kind of tagged along to help out, and it was really awesome. Lots of activity. It was a great event, but Wilson Castle is also one of those hit or miss, hot or cold. The second time that we went there, it was pretty quiet, but it was still fun. I mean, it's an awesome castle, super historical. And honestly, anybody who's ever played Resident Evil, the original, the castle looks just like the mansion from on the inside anyway, from Resident Evil, which was really cool.
Nice, nice. So just real quick, Lockbeard. Yeah, it's either 6 or 7, just depending on my guests' schedules. But yeah, and I've almost every single Monday. Every now and then I'll do like a Friday night or Saturday show, but it's almost every single Monday I'll do a show. But hope that answers your question there. So yeah, so what's like? Have you guys ever been like truly scared? Jamie, if you want to go first.
Hinsdale. The last time we were there.
Oh, really?
Like I said, 5 out of 6, absolutely nothing. Number 6, Mandy and I have never left an investigation early, ever. We've been to some really intense places. We've been to Waverly Hills. We've been to Bobby Mackey's, which is supposedly
Right.
the portal to hell, as some people like to call
Right.
it.
Okay.
We've been to some pretty crazy places. We've never left early until that one night at Hinsdale. We were due to stay until 10 a.m. We left at 2 a.m.
Oh, really?
We essentially got chased out of the house. I ended up with.
I was packing the equipment before I even knew what I was doing.
Yep. We were in the kitchen, and I heard something say very loudly, "Get out!" And
Oh, really?
it was so close to me. I could feel it on my skin. It was on my left side. I could feel like breath when I heard it. And I looked at Mandy and I said, "I think we need to leave." And she said, "I'm already packing. We're going." We got to the hotel about 40. We just drove and found a hotel. We got there about 40 minutes later, and I had scratches across my back.
Oh, wow.
That's the first
Wow.
time that I've been genuinely scared. And it wasn't that I was scared for my safety. It was just such an intensely uncomfortable space to be in. It was that deep, bone deep feeling of being not welcome. And that something was very unhappy that we were there right then.
Wow. What about you, Mandy? Was that just your scariest moment?
I sort of have a tie going on, and both of them are on different ends of the spectrum. So Hinsdale gets me because, like Jamie said, we have two polar opposite opinions of the Hinsdale house, and it is my favorite place to go. And I have never been that scatterbrained. I could not form an actual coherent thought in the last, like, I want to say 10 to 15 minutes. It felt like hours, but and that feeling of not being able to pull together and kind of get things clear in my own head kind of terrified me. And then the following, we actually pulled over in the car because she's like, "My back is really burning," and I was like, "Well, pull over, we'll look at your back." And so she pulled over on the highway and lifting her shirt, I'm like, "Holy crap, Jamie." And so that jarred me in a sense, but prior to that, what it ties with is when we were at Bobby Mackey's and we were doing Estes back in the back corner, and I call him Lonely Dave. He was having quite strong feelings about Jamie, and we kept getting very, very specific things through, and then I had my eyes are covered, I can't hear anything, completely blacked out, and then something runs across from the inside of my thigh all the way over the top of my leg and down the side of it, and I was up out of my chair so quickly, and it just, like, I've never been that clearly touched before, and since then haven't, by something nobody has seen, and it was her mother sitting beside me, so we know it wasn't her.
Right. Yeah, that's freaky. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know how I'd handle that, and especially when you're blindfolded already, right? And you don't see it, and it's just your other senses picking it up. That's crazy. What about you, Keith? Have you ever been scared?
Well, there was that one time I saw the Land's End light. I was pretty young, and it was really spooky. Every hair on my body stood up straight. Goosebumps. It was cold. Uh, my dad and I got out of there. My dad was a grown ass man, probably 42 years old. Uh,
Right.
he to date I have yet to have a good fright. I kind of relish in it a bit.
Right.
Please try and scare me. I would love to have that again, but I haven't had anything quite like that yet.
I mean, you did get a little unsettled at Wilson that first time.
Yeah, okay. Unsettled, but it wasn't.
It wasn't fear, but you were
Wasn't-
definitely a little weirded out.
What happened
Yeah,
there?
there was some discomfort.
So
I'm sorry.
we were
So what happened there?
we were in a room on the third floor together with a whole group of people, and we decided because we were running the event. We decided we are going to move around and float group to group and go check on other people, stuff like that. And so I told him that okay, we're gonna head downstairs. So I lead the way because I've got a flashlight, and I figured he doesn't know his way around the castle yet. He'll follow me. I get downstairs and I realize he's gone, and I was like, okay.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, maybe he just stopped to talk to somebody. I'll give it a little while. He finally comes and finds me like a solid 20 minutes later, and apparently had spent that entire time standing silently by himself in a bedroom on the third floor for no apparent reason.
Yeah, that was spooky. Something was like, "Hey, come in this room," and I mean, nothing said that. Something in my head, I don't know. It was
Right.
like, "Hey, just walk in that room," and then I just ended up standing there for a solid 20 minutes. It didn't feel like 20 minutes, and I guess when I came to, I was like, "Oh, what am I doing in here?" I'm ready to go find Jamie. It's dark.
Yeah, that would be unnerving. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went outside for some fresh air for a bit after that.
So, Jamie and Mandy, have either of you experienced that?
Well, I am a medium, which isn't something I was open about until this year. So I've definitely had really, really strong feelings and urges and things like that. Picking up on emotions. I would say the closest I can compare that to for myself is when I'm connecting really strongly to whatever it is that's communicating. I almost go into a trance. It's very meditation like. And I lose all track of time, space. I don't necessarily think about where I am. I don't pay attention to the time at all. I forget that there are other people in the room. So that's the only thing I can say would be similar for me.
Okay. What about you, Mandy?
I have fairly strong pulls to certain places. I know on certain investigations that I've been on with people, I call it being pulled in a certain direction or to a certain place, and it's very, very, out of all the times I've been places, maybe 3 or 4 times, I want to say, that I've been pulled somewhere so much that kind of I become extremely unaware of all of my surroundings, anybody else who's there, and just kind of hone in on something. But outside of that, I don't kind of like wake up and realize I'm anywhere. It just kind of get honed somewhere.
Hmm. So do you have abilities also, Mandy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I want to say aware of surroundings sometimes, even if I'm unaware. I don't know. I've never really looked into it.
I think Mandy's on the sensitive side, but hasn't either had the ability or the chance to unlock anything else.
Right. Yeah, and that's actually like where I'm at too. In this point, I think I might have something, but it's always kind of like 50-50. So I'm still trying to learn that. And like over the last, I guess, 4 years, I've been like meditating, which I used to never ever do, and it took me a long time to get good at it. I guess you could say. So I'm still learning about all that, and I'm learning to trust my gut a little bit more when it comes to this kind of stuff.
That's
Yeah.
definitely an important skill in investigating, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, whatever it is. Listening to your gut and listening to your intuition and really learning to hone in on that within yourself is so important, because the best tool for any kind of investigation is yourself.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. How you doing, Sally? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we're talking about being scared. So 2 weekends ago, I was out bigfooting, and it was like the scariest I've ever been. And I mean, I was like shaking. It was a pretty cool experience. Um, we had to get in the truck and leave pretty quickly, but it was a pretty cool experience. And all the way back to camp, because it was like a 25-minute drive. All the way back to camp, we didn't even talk to each other at all. We got back to camp and we sat down and we're just kind of looking at the fire. I got the fire going again, and I just looked up at my buddy Walter and I'm like, that was the stupidest thing we ever did, and we just busted up laughing. It was so funny. But yeah, I'm gonna tell that story on my friend's podcast, so I won't talk about it too much. But yeah, it was pretty. It was the scaredest I've ever been, and I don't get scared very often. But it was a fun thing. It was a lot of fun, and so you guys mentioned the S test method. How accurate is that for you guys?
Thus far, I think it's the most accurate technique we've found, at least for us. Every group, every person does things their own way. But I've found, you know, through our investigations that has become one of the primary tools that we use. Especially if someone is sensitive or a medium, blocking out your other senses and having that direct audio into your ear, it's almost like it just opens up that channel for easier communication. And when you've done it a couple times, you really do start to learn how to filter the noise, if that makes sense, on your own. So you're able to hear a little deeper. You're able to hear those snippets that it's sometimes not easy to hear on a regular, SB7, just on its own with a speaker. So yeah, I think it's great. It's been really, really useful.
Yep, I genuinely prefer it. I don't really use too much equipment at all. Sometimes it's fun to use different things. I'm generally using my phone or a recorder or whatever. It's the simplest way to go, because I do believe in trusting yourself and what you feel, because you're going to feel things that you're not going to pick up on camera or on a recorder. Um, but the Estes for me has been the most accurate that I've come across so far, and works best for me as far as communication and hearing something else. Sometimes you don't always get things on recording, and that that can be a huge bummer. But yes, this is always proven worth it to me.
I will
Yeah, yeah,
say that Keith is planning on building a new device for us to be debuted at our December event. So he's in the process of that, making his shopping list and whatnot. So we're really, really excited to have that for our December event.
Nice, nice. So Keith is your tech guy.
Tech guy, business guy, all around gopher. He's a little bit of everything.
Good deal. What techniques do you like, Keith? Do you like the Estes? I was gonna say the Mendes. Do you like the Estes method?
So I'm still pretty new to investigations, but I do love that. It's we've had some really interesting things come through during the Estes method. When we were in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago, and just some, even when the spirits aren't answering your questions, some of the things they say are way too coincidental. Like, I guess in the house, what was the name of the house in Pennsylvania,
Uh,
Jamie?
Waldorf Estate of Fear, Hell House.
Yeah. So at the Waldorf Estate, I guess a lot of a lot of the spirits they have in that house are very religious, and clear as day, we heard one of them say, "Your skin is blasphemous," and I don't know, you can't tell, but Jamie is covered in tattoos from head to foot, and it was very interesting for
Hmm.
them to have heard that. And also, they said purple and green, which is the color of Jamie's hair, and it was just very interesting. I really enjoy that method. Uh, yeah.
Good, good. So why do you think they came after you, Jamie?
I honestly, I think in my case, it's mostly just because I am a medium. I have the extra kind of openness and sensitivity. They might just feel like they can connect with me better. They're trying to establish that connection. Um, I also look a little out of the norm, so that might rub an older crowd badly.
Yeah.
If this is a gentleman who was, born 150 years ago, he's not
Right,
going to have a real high opinion of a woman covered in tattoos with crazy piercings and weird colored hair, and might feel the need to comment on it.
right. Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting, and yeah, I haven't thought about that. I think that's a good point. So Sally asks, have y'all done the Gansfield method? What's the Gansfield
I
method?
haven't. Mandy, have you messed around with that at all?
No.
Do y'all know what that
I
is?
don't know too much about it. I've heard the name, but I've never actually watched someone do it or have tried to do it myself or anything like that. I've just heard it talked about, kind of.
Hmm. That's interesting. I've never even heard of
So,
it.
so
So thank
Sally,
you,
if you
Sally.
want to give us like a little brief rundown in the comments there, that would be
Yeah,
great. I don't know too
yeah,
much about it.
Sally. Thanks. Yeah.
There's
That's
So
like
actually an
the first time
article.
anybody ever commented. Um, Again, Jamie at Bobby Mackey's with her hoodie. Back then, she had electric blue hair, and she had this massive, oversized Baphomet hoodie. But we're in Kentucky, and it is really hot. So it like during the day it's really hot. We're all wearing shorts, and then we get there and we're like, oh, we'll bring sweaters just in case. And Lonely Dave was very much about how unholy and blasphemous and evil and devil worshipping she was, and it was probably one of my favorite Estes moments.
Yeah,
She took off the hoodie,
they were
folded it,
not
and put it
appreciative.
away, and he apologized.
oh, that's
Thomas, you know that we do. Thomas there in the chat is a friend of ours. He's been connected to Granite Ghost Girls pretty much from the beginning. He also runs Hellfire Paranormal with Mandy. So yes, we do residential investigations, and at any time, if anyone feels like they need help with something like that going on in their home, they are absolutely welcome to message us on our Facebook page, and we'll have conversations and see what can be done to help. I've also just finished the application and interview process to join the Warren Legacy Foundation, and they are really big on residential investigations and helping people. So anyone who wants or needs help, just get in touch.
yeah, 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 and that's really cool that you guys do that. Um, Have you guys had any interesting cases that you can talk about? If you can't talk about it, that's fine, like I said. But you have any interesting cases that you can talk about?
It's tough.
Yeah,
So we can talk about it a little bit without giving out, personal information. Um,
right.
I would say that the biggest thing that I've found is even if there is paranormal things going on in the home, it's almost never just paranormal things going on in the home. The homes that seem to attract a lot of paranormal activity or problems also tend to be homes that have underlying problems, whether it's mental illness or abuse or drug problems or a general chaos in life where things are not going well for that family. It's never, in my experience, just paranormal. There's always something else going on that is allowing that space to be interfered with from the other side.
Well,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
explains why my aunt's house is haunted.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean that does explain a lot. I think so. I think in my case, it definitely opened up the door for a lot of stuff to come through. Um, and that's
So
one of the reasons why I got the hell out of there.
in the
But
in the chat, Thomas asked, "Can you guys explain the difference between the two?" The difference between the two, what? I need a little bit more context there.
I
I think
wanted to,
between going to like the Hinsdale and doing a
Oh,
residential, what is
yeah.
the difference between doing a regular investigation at a known haunted location versus going to a residential investigation?
I would say the number one difference is what we talk about. Um, with any residential investigation, everything is kept 100% confidential, 100% private. We do not give out your name. We do not give out your location. We do not talk about your case. We do not share any information with anyone outside of our team. Other than that, the pre-investigation is a little bit different too. We try to do a lot of interviews with the people involved in the case for a residential, and we also do as much background research as possible. So, looking up news articles, researching the address, trying to find anything that could be related to what's going on in the home. Um, Whereas when you're going to a known location, you still do research because you want to know, are the stories true? Are there any facts to back up all these myths and legends about this location? But the prep is very different, and then the investigations themselves are very different because generally on a residential, you're working with the client directly. They're there in the home with you during the investigation sometimes. So it's very different, and it's approached very differently from an emotional standpoint as well.
There you go. And he said, and yes, I do know you guys do both. Just wanted you to let the rest of the viewers know that as well. Wink, wink.
Thanks, Thomas.
Good job, Thomas. So Sally says that method is for extrasensory telepathy.
Okay. I will give it a read later on and check that out,
What's it
get some
called
more
again?
details about it, and see if it's something we can try sometime. Uh,
Yeah, the Gansfield
yeah.
method. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
There's
Yes.
actually there's an article about it in PubMed from the NIH National Library of Medicine, and I just shared the link in the private chat because I don't think I can actually post to the chat, but I don't know if you can share that with everyone else.
Let me see if I can copy it. I might be able to copy it and put it in there.
It's pretty interesting.
Okay. Yep. There we go. It's in there. It's in the chat.
Nice.
Good. Thanks a lot, Keith. I appreciate that. Yeah. So Keith sent that link over. So if you guys want to check it out,
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
give
it'll
that
help
a read later
people.
tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I already wrote it down, so I'm going to look into it a little bit more also. Also. So yeah. But yeah. So like in the house that I lived in at that one time in my life, right? I lived there for like 5 years. But that house was built like right after World War II. There were only one owners of the house, and it was an older couple. And well, not an older couple. They died when they were old. They were like in their 90s when they passed away, within like 2 years of each other. And it stayed empty for like 5 years. Then we wind up moving in, and I mean from day one, you know, we were having activity. I felt like somebody was sitting on the bed I was there maybe 2 nights, and I felt somebody sit on the bed. I looked up. I thought it was my dog. I had a boxer at the time, and I looked up, and there was nobody there. I don't know, week or so later goes by, and it happened again. And I sat up. I thought it was Atlas again. And I was going to tell him, get your hands off the bed, but there was nobody there. So I go to the kitchen. Everybody's in the kitchen. I'm like, hey, this house is haunted. And right away, everybody's like, yeah, it is. Like my kids were like, oh yeah, it is. They all started telling me stuff that had happened to them, and um, it was a crazy house. Nothing bad, nothing evil or anything like that. Like I said, we all got poked or touched at one point or time or another. Uh, One of the crazy things that happened was my cousin came there. A couple of my cousins, uh, they were going to do some remodeling, and like my cousin was sitting there. He was talking to everyone like, okay, this is what we're going to do when we come in tomorrow. What this how long it's going to take or whatever. He keeps looking at his arm, and he's like holding his arm, and then he looks at my other cousin who's standing 6 or 7 feet away from him. He's like, dude, what are you doing to my arm? And my other cousin's like, man, I'm not even touching you. What are you talking about? He goes, yeah, I feel like someone's grabbing my arm. So my cousin gets in the corner of the kitchen. He's talking to where he can see everyone, and he keeps looking at his arm. And he finally walks across the kitchen to him, and he grabs my arm and he squeezes it like really hard. He goes, dude, this is what it feels like. And he squeezed his arm really tight. So we just told him everything that had been happening in the house. The next morning he came in, he had these 4 fingerprint bruises on his arm. And I think it was because he's getting ready to do some remodeling that the previous owners didn't want him to do that. But he said after that, he said, if I showed up and I was the first one there in the morning, because I didn't go until anybody else showed up. Yeah, he was crazy. But yeah, it was a nice little place to live in for a while. Like I said, from what I understand, there's still activity there, and uh,
So
I just think
in 2016, I bought a house here in New Hampshire, and it was what, a year and a half after I bought it that you moved in, Mandy?
Yep.
And she lived with me on and off throughout the whole time I lived in that house. And we discovered that we had essentially a doppelganger in the house
oh
that
really?
I didn't experience, but Mandy did. I'll let
Hmm.
her tell the story because it was pretty unusual.
So I had a normal nightly routine. I had my son, I'd put him to bed, all the babies would go to bed. Um, Her mom would go hang outside and just catch some fresh air, and I had just finished cleaning the kitchen, and she off of the island was like a bar in her kitchen, and so I'm just sitting at the bar and I have my headphones in and I'm listening to music, and her mother comes into the house from the sliding glass door directly across from me. Her mom comes walking in and she says something as she passes me, so I take my headphone out and I'm like, "I'm sorry, what'd you say?" And she goes, "Kennedy's awake." And I said, "Oh," and she went into the bathroom. And then a couple of now again, to get back outside or to come in, you have to go past me. It's right in front of me, the door. Um, and then I want to say maybe 10 minutes later, her mother comes walking through the door. And I take my headphones off and I'm like, I didn't know you left again." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "I didn't know that you left. I didn't see you leave." And she goes, "What are you talking about, Mandy? I'm just coming in." And I was like, "No, you're not. You just told me that Kennedy was awake and went to the bathroom." She said, "No, I didn't. I'm just coming in the house now." And I'm like, "Stop playing with me. Don't stop playing with me." Because full as I'm looking at, if you're standing directly in front of me, walk past me directly in front of me, speaking to me, that's exactly what happened. Don't play with me, Sue. And she's like, "I'm not playing with you." And she calls Jamie up, and Jamie comes upstairs, and we tell Jamie what happened. Kennedy's awake. She wasn't making any noise, but she's awake in the bedroom across from where I had seen Sue go into the bathroom. Um, and Sue's like, "I swear to God, I'm just coming into the house." And her mom's not the type of person to play jokes on you like that. Um, so I was pretty, there's somebody else in this house, Jamie. There's somebody else here, but I swear it was her mother. I swear it was her mom.
Hmm. So what do you think doppelgangers are?
I I don't know. I think it's really dependent on the situation. I think
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, it's a reflection of energy. I think when a person lives in a place and has kind of a set routine, they do the same thing at pretty much the same time every day. They have this routine, they've built it up over time. I think any place can absorb the energy of that, and it's almost just like a mirror image.
Right.
I do think there are such things as sentient doppelgangers, which are a whole different ball of wax, but I think those are way more rare. And I think 99% of the time, it's just, a reflection.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny how uh, I hear a lot about doppelgangers, right? Talking to a lot of people in the paranormal, but it's like um, no one really talks about it though. It exists. It's out there. It's a real thing. And I think it's funny and it's how it occurs sometimes, and I don't think it's all evil like some people might say
Yeah.
everything is evil, right? Yeah, but I think it's an interesting
So,
thing,
so you're the Sasquatch guy, right? So
right?
in New Hampshire, we have the wood devil.
Okay,
We do also have Sasquatch, Bigfoot sightings, that type of stuff, but we also have the New Hampshire wood devil. And
okay.
it's kind of like our own little local version. Um, my son is obsessed with cryptids. It's like one of his favorite topics to talk about. For Christmas last year, I got him a stuffed wood devil, stuffed animal,
Oh,
because
nice.
Um, and one of the things he loved to do was keep track of all the Bigfoot sightings and Sasquatch sightings and wood devil sightings around our house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And apparently there's quite a few in that part of the state. It's
Yeah.
all very rural, lots and lots of woods, plenty of area for that type of stuff. And it got to the point where I genuinely did not feel comfortable standing in my backyard at night by myself. The
Okay.
backyard was wide open, and then there was just a tree line. And behind that tree line was a small cliff and then woods as far as the eye can see, out to a
Oh,
lake.
nice.
Um,
Nice.
so I think there was something in that woods. I don't know what name to use for it, but I think Mandy can agree. Those woods were very strange at night.
I stopped standing out back. I used to smoke cigarettes and I'd go step out on the back porch. We didn't smoke in the house. And I'd step out on the back porch to smoke because, just slide a little and go out there. I stopped and I never saw anything in the wood line ever. But it always felt like something was very intensely watching you and closing in on you without ever seeing anything there. So, Tom, I
You had
stopped
me
going
full
out
of that
back.
with you know who.
Oh my goodness. I have actually
Oh,
you didn't tell us the story, but you got terrified going out bigfooting. We were out on a paranormal investigation, Tom and I and another person, thou who shall not be named, and where I'm looking off at a church. I had just got it's a church house and it's closed down. There's nobody in this house, nobody lives there, nobody's lived there for a long time. And I'm kind of across from it. And I go to take a I go to take a photo of it, and in the doorway is a just almost like a floating head. And I'm like, "What?" Because I started taking more pictures of it and there's no more. I don't have anything else there. I've taken many a pictures of this place. And then from behind me, I start hearing this really loud, high pitched, like whooping sound and something slamming together. And I almost run to the church house. Cause like I'm curious about this face I just seen, and then something starts screaming behind me and scares the out of me. And I'm from the South. I don't play with things in the woods. I don't do that. I don't play with critters. And I turn around as I'm getting ready to bolt, and there's a man standing in front of the tree line, smacking his shoes together, whooping into the woods, trying to catch a Bigfoot. And that is the closest experience I've ever had to that, but genuinely terrified me.
hmm. Snapping his shoes together.
I
Yeah.
will
That's
say,
interesting.
Thomas, no, you might not have been scared that night, but I do know what does scare you, and that would be bats, because the noises that came out of you at Wilson Castle that night were inhuman.
They were. Me and her upstairs, and we see these cute little bats flying around, and we're like, "Oh, bats!" And we're going towards them, and the boys are downstairs. My husband and Tom are downstairs coming up, and I hear this loud pitch scream, and that came from like his ancestors. He screamed. I'm like, what was that?
And he's a big dude. Like he's not like a small, frail individual.
Yep, I've never seen him
That's
afraid
funny.
before of anything else.
He says we have no proof, but I'm pretty sure that you guys are always recording. So there's probably proof, Tom.
I'll send it to Auntie.
You can show your son this, Jamie. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, that is very cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. This was actually taken by my friend Shane. Let me turn this light off. Everybody sees better. Yeah, he was taken by my friend Shane in Oklahoma.
Did you know we have a cryptid
And
museum here in New Hampshire?
I think I do know that. What's the name of it?
Oh, I can't remember. I just went to it last year too. Let me see if I can
Okay.
Google it really quick.
Yeah, I think my friend Adam has sent me that before.
They have
I got a friend.
so much cool stuff, and so much of it is Bigfoot related and Sasquatch related. It was amazing.
So real quick, I ask all my guests anyway, but since we're talking about it, I usually wait like towards the end of the show. But it's almost towards the end. What do you guys think about Bigfoot? Is it a real thing? And is it a flesh and blood? Is it spiritual? Is it a UFO? Is it an alien thing? Supernatural? What do you guys think about it? And you know what, Keith, you go first. Keith, you haven't spoken in a while. What do you think about Bigfoot?
I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open to the idea of most cryptids, most paranormal things. I haven't seen Bigfoot. I spent a lot of time in the woods. I do hunt, so I haven't. When you're hunting, you generally find things you're not looking for. So I feel like I would have seen him by now because I never see any deer. But
Right.
but no, I'm sure there's some sort of truth behind the legend. Whether what it is, I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't even want to make an educated guess on it. But I'd definitely be interested in learning all I could. You know, I've definitely had experiences in the woods that scared me. I've had experiences in the woods that scared me and then were freaking hilarious. And do I ever pick up strange things in the game cam? No. Usually, when I pick up things in the game cam, it's other hunters trying to steal my game cams. But yeah, I've had things in the woods scare me. I've had things scare me that turned out to be absolutely hilarious. But I haven't seen Bigfoot yet.
Right. Yeah. The funny story. My friend Walter, we were out camping and we had all our food on the table and stuff, and it was, I don't know, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and he's walking over to get us some food. And when he walks over, I hear him scream, right? And it was so funny. And we all turned and looked. There was like three of us there, three other guys, and we all turned and looked at him, see what the hell he's screaming at. And there was a possum underneath the table. and when Walter jumped back and screamed, the possum did the same thing. It was so funny.
That's
It
great.
was so funny. What about you, Mandy? What do you think about Bigfoot? Is it a real thing? Is it?
So, again, I grew up with my mom. All things spooky. She used to listen to Coast to Coast with Art Bell, and I have to say that obviously the ghost episodes, anything paranormal, kind of like drugged me in and really got me in there. But it was the Bigfoot episodes that terrified me the most because I'm from the South and my house was in the woods. I've always believed that people are really stupid to think we're the only things out there. What you see isn't the only thing there, and some things just don't want to be seen. If they don't want to be seen, they're not going to, which makes it even harder. So when you see these um, pictures or videos or these large footprints, I think it was just yesterday I was watching this video of this man who has nothing to do with anything paranormal related or anything. He's walking through his fields, and some of his animals are pretty ripped apart, just pieces of them and there are massive. He said he had a size 12 boot, and he has a size 12 boot next to this footprint that is much larger than anything that could be human, much larger and elongated than anything that could be a bear or any animal that I know of. Footprints clearly in the ground. And so I think there's something out there. I've never experienced Bigfoot myself. I honestly can tell you that I don't think I'll ever go looking for him though either, just because I can search for dead things, but something that might come at me out of the woods deeply terrifies me. Um, I do think there's something there. I don't know if it's Bigfoot or something else, but yeah, I think. What do you think, Jamie?
Okay.
I'm of the opinion that there's no way that humans are the only sentient things in the entire universe. It's utterly insane. I think there's absolutely, enough scientific data that's been recovered to show that could absolutely be something in the, wide open forests of this country that isn't currently recognized by science. I've seen hair samples at, the museum where they had DNA testing done. And it doesn't match any known DNA. That's not explainable. That's not a lab error when they had it tested 3 times and it came back the same every time. What kind of creature it is, I think Bigfoot is the best name you can use for it currently, just because we don't know. We don't know what it's related to. We don't know how it evolved. We don't know where it came from or how long they've been there. But I think it's insane to think that there's nothing. Same thing with aliens. Extraterrestrials of any kind. The universe is so big. And the idea that we're the only things out here, our one planet, that's crazy. That's insane. It doesn't make any sense. It's a statistical improbability.
Right, exactly.
So,
Yeah, I think you're very right on that. Yeah. Yeah, even if it's like 1% of the universe, right, which is infinite, that's still a big 1%, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, well, good. I like your answers. All very good answers. Back to the paranormal, though. What is your bucket list, Jamie? You want to go first? What are some maybe 2 or 3 places that you want to go to?
I would love to do an investigation in New Orleans. I think the history down there is incredible. Currently on like the achievable bucket list, because New Orleans is very hard to accomplish an investigation. There's a place in Texas, you might be familiar with it, La Presidio El Bahia.
Is it the Mission?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's where this giant massacre happened.
Right. Yeah.
So my ex-husband grew up in that town. For some reason, the town is escaping me right now, but the Presidio.
It's like towards the south, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Victoria area. Victoria area.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, this giant massacre happened. That's historically documented, and it's available to rent overnight to stay in. They've renovated some of the rooms there to actually, yes, Goliad. Thank you, Sally. So yeah, my ex-husband grew up in Goliad, so he's actually the one who told me about it. So yeah, that's on the achievable bucket list. I really, really want to get out there and do an investigation. Interestingly, it's still owned by the Catholic Church down there. It's still run by them and managed by them. So I find that interesting that they have renovated it and allow it to essentially be used as an Airbnb now, with it also being a mission and a historical location. But I think it's ripe for a full-on overnight investigation. And if you book both of the 2 rooms, there's not going to be anyone there you're going to be bothering.
Right. Yeah. Interesting story about that place. My cousins actually did an investigation there, and he says as they were packing all the gear up, getting ready to leave, and they were saying their goodbyes. They were like, "Hey, we're leaving. You guys have got to stay here." He said that they heard a female voice. There was 3 of them, and they heard a female voice out loud say, "No, don't go."
That's very cool.
That was pretty. Yeah. He's like, of course, we had all our equipment packed up, and we didn't record it.
Oh, of course, something cool like that happens after the equipment's packed up.
What about you, Manny? Do you have a certain place on your bucket list you want to visit?
I have so many. Me and Jamie have like
Yeah,
books
a whole notebook full.
of different places that we'd love to go. Unattainable, I think, actually, forever. Provaglia Island is a massive that I listen to any story I possibly can, any podcast, anything. I'll read anything I can about that place. Um, but more attainable, and this is a big one. And normally I don't like to go places because of the stories I've heard, and mainly because recently I have, well, over the past couple of years especially, I've come to realize that a lot of the stories you hear about places need to stay somebody else's story and you need to create your own. So I've recently come into, I don't want to hear any stories about places so that I can create my own and have my own experiences and have them not be um, based off of something else. But a friend of mine has been to the Sally House 4 times and every single time could not make it through the actual investigation, whether it be physically being harmed or this past time it was more of a mental thing for them. And I kind of, it's one of those don't touch the red button. I just want to see if I can do it.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, I would try that too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be a
What about
while
you?
before we can get out there, Miss.
Oh, there's a lot going on over this next year. I'm well aware.
Yeah, so just to fill our guests in, Mandy is expecting a little one in a few months. We're all super excited, but I'm also sad because it means I lose my partner for a little bit with investigations.
Hmm.
The
Well,
husband
that's good.
has clarified he is willing to travel with baby so that I can do what needs to be done.
That's good to know.
Hmm.
That makes
And
it
thankfully,
easier.
we've recently, added Keith to the team, so I've got another set of hands and some backup for when Mandy can't make it.
Okay, good. Good. Is that Keith? No.
Yes.
What about you, Keith? What's your do you have any particular place on your bucket list?
Um, Particular like specific locations, no. But I really like the idea of doing investigations somewhere in St. Augustine because that place is pretty haunted. It's also really pretty, and also something about being able to lay out on the beach in the afternoon, get a nice tan, do some surfing, and then some ghost hunting later on in the evening. That sounds like the best vacation I could think of, to be
There you go.
honest.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, I would do that. Except maybe go bigfooting, but yeah. So Sally asked if y'all gone to the Conjuring House.
I
I
have not.
have I've been to the Conjuring House. Um, it was really cool for what it was, and I'm not knocking anybody's experiences or stories from out there. I did not experience anything paranormal while being there. It was a really cool place, really cool stories. And I would love to go back. But very quiet, very quiet. More experiences out in the woods on the bridge.
Hmm.
So my experience with the Conjuring House is a little bit different because it's not direct. I have never personally been there, but I was really lucky to meet someone um, in the past year. His name is Joe Ranoni, and he was essentially the in-house videographer for the Conjuring House for the former owners, Jen and Corey, who I've also had the pleasure to meet. They are absolutely wonderful people. I got to investigate with them at the USS Salem. Um, Super great people. They did have to sell the house to the current owner, Jacqueline, and from all reports, it's just very different now, and not in a bad way. It just has a different energy because of the new owner, and that's not in any negative sense whatsoever. Um, but yeah, I haven't been able to go down there, but because of my friendship with Joe, who was there all the time, I mean, week after week after week for a very long time, constantly capturing, video and audio. And then having met Jen and Corey, just hearing all the amazing stories from those people has been really, really awesome. And getting kind of behind the scenes stuff.
Cool. Cool.
I did.
Well, if you guys want to, why don't you talk about your what you have going on and the Black Moon events too. Again, just let everybody know.
Yeah, so Black Moon Events has probably our final event of the year coming up. It is in December. It is at the Murdoch, Whitney, and Isaac Morse houses down in Winchendon, Massachusetts. It is a full overnight investigation. People who purchase VIP tickets will be able to secure a sleeping spot in Isaac Morse for the night. We have 2 headliners coming out to help us lead our guests throughout the night. We have David Childers, who's been seen on Discovery Channel, Travel Channel. He's a great guy. He's a really good friend of mine. He's so much fun to investigate with. And then we have Larissa Mary, and she's out of Pennsylvania. She runs ParaOps. She also runs, she works with Hell House all the time. She does Third Eye events out in her area. Larissa has actually teamed up with me and a third person, Dave Giuliano, who is super crazy well known. He's the owner of the Ghost Hunter store. So pretty much the oldest paranormal equipment company out there. That's Dave. So the 3 of us have teamed up to put on much bigger events because all 3 of us are able to work them together. So we have the Murdoch Whitney in December. It's going to be a great time.
Which I just posted in private chat, by the way.
We also, for the first time, offered an additional ticket experience for this event for an small additional fee. Anyone who purchases an overnight stay will have the opportunity to have breakfast with us and our headliners cooked by me in the morning. I actually have a culinary degree. I worked as a chef for years. So instead of people leaving the investigation in the morning having to go find breakfast, they can hang out and have like French toast and eggs and pastries with us in the morning.
Damn, that sounds pretty good. I might just go to that event and skip the pregnancy thing then,
She's a good cook.
Yeah.
And it's before your daughter's due.
Okay.
So it's December 16th.
No, it's way after.
Oh, I thought
she's due October 26th.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You got plenty of time then.
Yeah, I got plenty of time. Yeah. The heck with Christmas. Nobody needs Christmas gifts. Yeah, shoot, man, that sounds pretty cool. You guys have anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to say?
Just mentioning the big Wilson Castle event for next year. It is obviously a year away, so that's kind of a ways. But the reason we're posting and starting it now is because it is going to be one of the biggest paranormal events of the entire year for the entire country. It is a 3-day event. Friday is a nighttime investigation. Saturday is a masquerade ball, 1920s themed, followed by an auction. And the auction will be dates. So it's a date auction. So you get to bid on a date with one of our paranormal celebrities. And then all day Sunday is a full-scale ParaCon inside and outside the castle. So the whole grounds, all inside. Nice. We are lucky enough to have a wonderful artist named Mama Tab sign on as a sponsor. She is a phenomenal tattoo artist. And she's going to be offering tattoos. Her and her team will be there the whole weekend. And Sunday, you can go and get a tattoo from Mama Tab or the guy who works with her. I believe his name is Kid Joe.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's next year.
Okay. And if you guys go to the fan page, so I have like 2 pages. One is the podcast page. The other one is Beyond the Woodline fan page. Go there and you guys can post all that, promote all that stuff that you want.
Awesome. We'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely do that. And if you guys just want to tag me and stuff, man, feel free to tag me. Keep me updated, and I'll share everything out for you guys. I certainly don't mind that.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cool. Just want to thank you guys one more time for coming on. I do appreciate it. You guys are great and awesome guests, man. I could just have went and grab some coffee and let you guys do the show yourselves. You guys did a great job.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been great to be on.
Yeah, and everybody in the chat room, your fan club that was in the chat room today, I appreciate you guys. I have a show next Monday. I never know who I have on, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I'll have a show next Monday. If you guys tune in, I don't remember if it's 6 or 7.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, tune in, and you guys hold on real quick. And thank you, Sally. Sally's she's a good egg.
Thank you, Sally.
Yeah. And you guys hold on real quick, and